I've lost track of how many people have written to me complaining that they have been forced to take some kind of microchipped identification card. And there are even more who write to imply that I should give them a simple solution to the whole problem of this tsunami of RFID chips that is spreading around the world. Either a good excuse to cave in and take it, or some simple alternative, like a well-paid job preaching in a church where all their material needs will be met without having to confront the full implications of the mark of the beast. What we need to do here is look a lot closer at this concept of force. No one is forcing you to do anything, and that includes God. He has given us as human beings the privilege of free choice. The angels, they say, don't have free choice, but we humans do. And yet, what have we done with it? We have handed it over to whoever pushes the hardest, whoever wants to call the shots, whoever will reassure us that they have everything worked out for us. That's what these people do who write to me in droves. They more or less say, "Save me from having to make a hard choice. Give me a solution and I'll put my faith in you." Now, I do have a solution, don't worry about that. But it's not the stick your head in the sand solution that so many of you are looking for. My solution is to get back into sync with the creator of the universe. He knew all of this was coming thousands of years ago. Nothing is out of control as far as he's concerned. And all he is looking for now is what he has been looking for throughout human history. He's looking for people who will let go of all our plans and values and listen to him. There is a way through the maze, but he's not going to give it to you all at once. He wants to see if you will follow him in the little things first. Jesus said it in the Sermon on the Mount. He said that what will make his followers different from all the nations of the world is that we don't work for food or clothing. Instead, we work to build his kingdom, and we trust him to take care of our material needs. If we had just done that, if we had just let go of trying to do it our own way, we would not be so frightened about not having government ID, about not having cash, and about not having the mark of the beast now. But how? How is he going to do that? Everyone shouts. Do you really think he's going to tell you? I mean, he managed to create the whole universe and all that is in it without our help and without money. And we still don't have a clue how he did it. But he did it. And all he asks of you now is that you let him do it. Trust him. Jesus said, "Fear not them that kill the body, but I'll tell you who to fear. Fear him that is able to destroy both soul and body in hell." But is anybody listening? We're too busy listening to every human authority who speaks in opposition to God's way. Now I'm going to show you something that was done and redone over and over again in many countries around the world back in the 1960s. It was a simple psychological experiment, but it was so powerful and so shocking that the experiments were eventually outlawed by most academic institutions. Not because they were immoral, but because what they revealed was so traumatic for the people who participated in them that their lives were permanently and deeply affected by what they had done. The experiment was invented by a guy named Stanley Milgram, and it is officially known as the Milgram experiment, but it is also referred to as the lab coat experiment. The reason for that is that the entire experiment revolved around something as simple as a lab coat. You know, the long white protective coat that scientists often use when working in a laboratory. You may have even worn one yourself when doing chemistry experiments in high school. The person conducting the experiment could be male, female, young, old, good-looking, ugly, whatever. But they all wore a lab coat and held a clipboard with a pencil in their hand. In other words, they looked official. Volunteers were told that the experiment was testing the effect of punishment on learning. They were shown an apparatus on one side of the wall which was connected to the person being tested, and they were told that they would be asked to administer very tiny shocks to the person on the other side of the wall whenever they gave the wrong answers to questions or whenever they failed to answer. However, each time another wrong answer was given, the severity of the shock would be increased slightly. What they didn't know was that the person on the other side of the wall was actually an actor, and that there were no shocks at all. Nevertheless, the apparent shocks would be increased up to hundreds of volts, and the actor would scream in pain when the large shocks were supposedly being administered. And then the volunteer would hear the actor fall on the table, followed by silence as the shocks were increased even further. All the evidence suggested that the actor had actually been killed, and the volunteers went through great trauma by this stage. But the most incredible thing about the experiment was that the vast majority of the participants would still administer shocks as long as they were constantly told to do so by the person in the lab coat, and as long as the person in the lab coat assured them that they would take full responsibility for whatever happened. Let's watch actual footage of one of the volunteers as he goes from shocks of 100 volts up to shocks of more than 450 volts.
Sharp. Axe, needle, stick, blade. Answer, please. Wrong. I'm up to 180 volts.
Please continue, teacher.
Needle, you're gonna get a shock. 180 volts.
I can't stand the pain. Let me out of here.
Can't stand it. I'm not gonna kill that man, eh? You hear him hollering? He's
As I said
dying.
before, the shocks may be painful, but they're not
but he's in
dangerous.
there hollering. He can't stand it. What if something happens to him?
The experiment requires that you continue, teacher.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna get that man sick in there. I mean, he's hollering in there. You know what I mean?
Whether the learner likes it or not, we must go on until he's learned all the word
I
pairs.
refuse to take the responsibility of getting hurt in there. I'm not. I mean, he's in there hollering.
It's absolutely essential that you continue, teacher.
There's too many left here, and I mean, geez, he gets wrong here. There's too many of them left. I mean, who's going to take the responsibility if anything happens to that gentleman?
I'm responsible for anything that happens here. Continue, please.
All right, next one, slow. Wrong. Answer is neck. 300 volts.
Ow! I absolutely refuse to answer anymore. Get me out of here. You can't hold me here. Get me out. Get me out of here.
Continue. The next word is green, please.
Green, grass, hat, ink, apple. I can't go on, he won't answer.
If the learner doesn't answer in a reasonable time, about 4 or 5 seconds, consider the answer wrong and follow the same procedures you have been doing for wrong answers. Say wrong, tell them the number of volts, give them the punishment, read them the correct answer. Continue, please.
Something's happened to that man in there. Nice one, gold, dollar, necklace, moon, paint. Something's happened to that man in there. You better check in on him, sir. He won't answer me or nothing.
Please continue. Go on, please.
You accept all the responsibility?
The responsibility is mine, correct. Please go on.
Grave, woman, soldier, dog, horse. Answer is woman, 450 volts. That's it.
Now continue using the last switch on the board, please. The 450 switch for each wrong answer. Continue, please.
I'm not getting no answer.
Please continue. The next word is white.
Don't you think you should look in on him, please?
Not once we've started the
But
experiment.
what if something's happened to the man, had an attack or something in there?
The experiment requires that we continue. Go on, please.
Don't the man's health mean anything?
Whether the learner likes it or not, we
But he
must...
might be dead in there. I mean, some people can't take the shock, sir.
Please
I mean, I
continue.
don't tend to be rude, but I mean, I think you should look in on him. I
Whether
mean,
the...
all you got to do is look at the door. If I don't get no answer, no noise, something I think has happened to the gentleman in there, sir.
We must continue. Go on, please.
You're going to keep giving him, what, 450 volts every shot now?
That's correct. Continue. The next word is white.
White, 450 volts.
So, how does this relate to us as Christians today? And what does it have to do with the mark of the beast? Well, we are quickly approaching a point in history where we will be figuratively either on one side of the wall or the other, and where there will be no actors. The pain will be real. If we cannot even take a stand now, while it's relatively easy to opt out of the Antichrist system, how will we be when the mark is fully implemented? All over the world, religious people are telling themselves that they have no choice, that they have been forced to take the various forms of identification which are only precursors to the final mark of the beast. We want to believe that God has made the rules impossible, that He is asking us to do something that we have no power to do. Listen to the volunteer from the Milgram experiment as he tells why he kept going, even when he thought he was killing someone.
I told him no, but he said, "You gotta keep going." I told him it's time we stopped when we got up to 195, 210 volts.
But why didn't you just stop?
He wouldn't let me. I wanted to stop.
Is that us? Are we so lacking in conscience that we cannot say no? Jesus has told us to come out of Babylon, to stop working for the food that perishes, to take no thought for food or clothing, to seek God's kingdom and His righteousness. And what are we doing about it? Oh, I can't. I have no other choice. If I followed Jesus, I would starve. What about my family? I'll stay where I am and invent some other gospel, which I can preach more comfortably here in my nice house and in my nice job. God wants you to make a choice now, while it's still relatively easy. If we don't have enough backbone to do that now, we may as well find out now. You see, there's a day coming when the Antichrist system is going to tell you, either do what we say, or you will be dragged onto the other side of the wall where the electrodes will be hooked up to you. Ultimately, we will either support the Antichrist system in its war on God and its war on all those who believe in Him, or we will take a stand, even if it means laying down our lives as martyrs for Christ. Don't wait until the last minute to discover what kind of faith you really have. If you can't take a stand now, do you really think you'll have what it takes to face torture and death then? We know without a doubt, based on results from all the lab coat experiments that were done before they were banned, that most of you will march along obediently, even to the point of betraying your own families in order to be accepted by the system. But we here on this channel are looking for those rare exceptions, people who are prepared to leave everything in obedience to Christ. If you think you may be one of those people, please write to us today at the address on screen. God bless you.